Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I will do a quick video talk about Bitcoin and maybe some of the major altcoins here. Usually many months ago, I used to do like these live streams on Saturday. I'm just a little bit too outstretched here. I'm not going to try to do that, but I figure I do want to talk about Bitcoin. You guys a little bit of weekend update here. There's really nothing to update. A few days ago, I made a post on X saying that it looks like Bitcoin probably just wants to do nothing for the week and maybe even next week. The reason why I say that is this is a GAN chart here. If you want to know the parameters, it's 360, 500. I drew this from the cycle bottom, and this is done on log scale. So you should have all the information you need if you know how to do this to reproduce this and take a look at it on your own if you want to do that. What I'm really seeing here is this great market symmetry where it basically got rejected here, this arc, push through, went to the next arc, push through, get rid of the next arc, eventually push through, went to the next arc, right? I think we are at a very, very similar juncture here compared to here, where we had consolidated underneath this arc here for months, came back, grabbed liquidity, back test what it needed to back test, push through, reclaim the angle over here from resistance here back into support, back test as support, and push through the arc like we did over here. What happened after that? You spent a week doing nothing, back test the arc. The week after that, you spent a week doing nothing, trying to push through the horizontal zone up above. Here, we don't really have a horizontal GAN line. I don't think it necessarily need to do that. But if I turn the GAN off here, if I turn on the Bollinger Band here, you can also see that there's a lot of similarities between this over here versus this over here. We basically touched the upper Bollinger Band here, had to go sideways because we were a little bit way too overextended, way too far, way too fast, had to come back down, touch the lower Bollinger Band here on the weekly, grab enough liquidity, gather enough energy, was ready to reclaim the 20-week moving average, and then that's when you have more impulsive price action happening with the Bollinger Band expansion here, allow price to keep going up and make another leg up higher. The same thing's happening here. I'm not going to describe it again. Upper Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band, push through 20. Bollinger Band's expansion is happening. Looks like it wants to go higher. There is a possibility. There's a possibility where next week there is going to be a lot of volatility because of whatever, like Moody's downgrade or whatever planned on Friday afternoon after the market. They can dice it however they want to dice. If they want to back test the arc here again, they want to keep it going. They even break down and even make it a wick, going all the way down here to the angle. They can do whatever they want, right? Or it could just hold the arc here, which is what I favor based on just looking at the technicals here. What could happen is that for whatever reason, even if Moody's downgrade, Bitcoin doesn't care. It could just touch the upper Bollinger Band here like it did over here, get rejected, and then end up closing the week doing nothing again. I think that's possible. If you're looking back at the GAN, it can even do nothing all the way over here to the confluence of the arc and the angle here, and back test the angle here one more time before making its leg up here to $117. $117,000. That's also a possibility. The other possibility too is that it can, because it's a little bit overextended about the Tenkan Kitchen here on the Ishimoku, we might have to wait sideways here for them to catch up, which is what we did over here. So there are a lot of different things that are happening, but this GAN chart here has been working extremely well, and I just think that it most likely will continue to work. And if it continues to work, then I think the next step is going to be sideways here, maybe even backtest some stuff before making the next move up. And it's going to get a lot of people really bored. Looking at a more granular way, instead of looking at the weekly chart, let's look at the daily chart. Do I have something on the daily chart that is also working extremely well? I do. I have the daily chart here with 360 and 200 from the August 5th bottom over here on log scale, and there you should have everything you need to reproduce this and take a look at this on your own. Look at this beautiful market signature. I started following this GAN chart around December, maybe November, December, and really it pushed through arc after arc, back tested arc here perfectly, and it's stuck in a range at the top arc here and the bottom of the arc here perfectly for months to my own amazement. When it broke down underneath the angle, I was like, man, that's not good. It could potentially come back and test the top of the arc here. It did exactly just that. And guess what? It's ever since then, it had really pushed through this arc here, and it has really been riding up this 45-degree angle here to my amusement in terms of how beautifully this 45-degree angle has been serving as resistance here for 2 or 3 months. We were finally able to break above of that, and we haven't really had a chance to backtest the 45-degree angle quite just yet. I think it could end up doing that by just going sideways here to 101K, backtest the area, see what the reaction is. It could even wick down underneath, and then we end up having further bullish continuation, because so far this chart looks very bullish. Now, you can also say that this could be a barred pattern where, you know, you have a big lick up, it just goes sideways, doesn't go anything, and it just barts back down, form the shape of Bart Simpson's head. That's also possible that this is a false breakout, and we end up breaking down underneath, and we end up trying to push the 45-degree angle up again over time. Or it could break down and backtest the arc up here, although I think that these are not probable scenario, because I see some pretty good support here on my weekly Gann chart, because I see some pretty good support here on the Bollinger Band on the 20-week moving average, because I see some pretty good support here on the Ichimoku. I don't think it has to backtest the arc, the Ichimoku cloud here again before further bullish continuation, because I also see on a higher time frame, if you look at the monthly chart, that it had done what is needed to push price up higher, which is to backtest the blue line here called the Tenkan here on the monthly, and it's holding a support. It looks like it wants to go higher. So I don't really anticipate anything that's going to take entirely too long and too much more brutal before it keeps on going up. On top of that, if you're interested in looking at the FIB levels, we are in the cups of breaking above the 1.272, where we got rejected here for many months in a row. We are challenging that area right now once again, which is why we might go sideways here for another week or two before building up energy to punch through. Right. That's what I'm seeing on the overall chart. I can even show you my monthly Gann chart, which I've shown over and over again, where whenever it decides to break through an arc, it goes to the next arc. And whenever it decides to break through the arc here, backtest the arc and go to the next arc. Whenever it decides to break through the arc here, backtest the arc here and go to the next arc. Whenever it decides to go to the next arc here, backtest the arc and go to the next arc. You get the idea. Where's the next arc? Somewhere up here around, depends on where it hits. The bottom arc maybe anywhere from like 40,000, top of the arc maybe anywhere around like 80,000, not 80,000, 400,000 and 800,000, depending on where it decides to punch through. On the way there, you're going to have resistance around 20,000. And it would be interesting to see what the reaction is there. But if this is a proper Bitcoin cycle, the Bollinger Band expansion on the monthly has not happened yet. We simply haven't really had that exponential bullish phase that expand the Bollinger Band all the way down. And I think that we've consolidated sideways over here with the Bollinger Band squeeze here that's very similar here to the last cycle before Bollinger Band expansion. I wonder if we're close. If we're able to break above the 1.272 log fib, I think that might be the catalyst that is needed to really have some, very bullish continuation here moving forward. I'm going to keep altcoins here extremely brief. I'm going to talk about Ethereum extremely quickly. Ethereum is basically doing what it has done over and over again, where it broke down underneath a trend line. And as it broke down underneath a trend line, it gathers up energy and try to push through. I'm hoping this is not going to be a bearish backtest and make another leg lower. I don't think that's going to be the case. There are a lot of things that makes me think that that's not going to be the case. If you're looking at the linear FIB levels over here, you can see that it had a hard time break about the 0.786 because that's really one of the final bosses to break through. If it breaks through, then all-time highs are coming. Decides that it's not ready yet, decides to come all the way back down to 0.136 here, push through. Now we're back above the 0.382 here. Can it hold the 0.382, or does it have to come back down to the 21,000 zone to backtest this area here, which is resistance here and support here? Does it have to do that? Maybe. It doesn't have to do anything, but that's a possibility. I really want to see it break back above this liquidity zone, because right now we're at a big liquidity zone over here. Support, resistance, support, resistance. If we're able to break above, then sky's the limit. We have a hard time break above this here too, because we also have a hard time break above the Ichimoku cloud here on the 2-week chart. On the weekly chart, we have a hard time breaking above the Kijun, and on the monthly chart, we have a hard time breaking above the top of the Ichimoku cloud here, and we got rejected here at the Tenkin and Kijun. Right? All of these are expected, but look at how beautiful is forming a morning star pattern. This is a bullish pattern that favors further bullish continuation. I think that is going to be bullish over time, and I think that it probably will end up following these other experiences here in the past, where you have a big breakdown followed by a haha just kidding, and this is what really this is the liquidity that really sets off a very impulsive bull market. I cannot guarantee you that because it hasn't happened yet, and this is just an idea. But talking about other crypto here, XRP, I have a Gann chart here, is really reclaiming this horizontal here very well. I think it's just a matter of time. When it gets to around $7 or $8, it's just a matter of time. Now, when it comes to Dogecoin, I think Dogecoin is also having a hard time trying to break back above, but it's also got a morning star look to it. If you look at the monthly, it's trying to break about the 0.236 linear fib here. If you look at the log fib here, it got rejected here at the 0.618. Right? And if you're also looking at the other things here, such as the Ichimoku, it got rejected here on the monthly Ichimoku cloud. If you're looking at the 2-week here, you have resistance up here at the Tenkin and Kijun, even though it bounced off the cloud here beautifully. So why am I bullish on Doge? It's hitting a lot of resistance levels. Why am I bullish on Doge? I'm bullish on Doge because there's enough bullish momentum here that's being built. And I think you're about to have a bullish cross here on the wave trend oscillator on the 2-week, kind of like the time before that led to a big move up. I think we're building up energy over here. I think on the weekly, it has already built up energy and it's getting ready for the next move up. And I think it's going to push through these resistance levels given time. It is still underneath the 20-week moving average, but I think we have enough energy here to push through kind of like we did over here eventually. And when it does, it's going to gravitate up to the upper Bollinger Band like it did last time. And if it does well over there, the direction is decent like it did over here, then you might end up having further Bollinger Band expansion and another leg up. This looks like it's getting ready to do one of these things. SHIB is looking very similar to Doge. I have nothing else to add. BONK is looking a little bit more bullish than Doge because it's reclaiming 20-week moving average. PEPE is definitely reclaiming a 20-week moving average. It looks like it wants to hit the upper Bollinger Band, right? All of these meme coins look like they are building up energy to do what they need to do. Even if you look at the wave trend oscillators already turned positive, there are a lot of bullish momentum here being built up with a lot of these names. I have a position in JASMY. I rode it all the way up and I rode it all the way down and I round tripped it. What we're seeing here though is that we're trying to reclaim this horizontal zone around 0.016 or 0.017 from resistance here back into support. As you can see, that it was support here for a very long time. It broke down because we tested too many times and we grabbed liquidity down below, tested the horizontal liquidity zone right around here, passed bullish engulfing candle, channeling up, trying to reclaim this back into support. All right. I am still pretty bullish on JASMY. I think that this whole thing right here is wave 1. I think this is wave 2, and I think wave 3 is coming. I am pretty bullish on JASMY. If you want to look at my targets, I can show you later. Let's just break this liquidity zone up here and make some all-time highs, then I'll talk targets. AVAX, Avalanche. I have a position, a small one. I've been adding in a little bit to it. The reason why is because I think it bounced off of a very confluent zone here at the GAN 45-degree angle, and the arc here is getting rejected here at the horizontal. I think you'll reclaim it again because I think it's got enough energy to do so, right? So where is it going to go next? Hopefully we have enough energy to punch through this arc, get to the horizontal here, which is going to be $78. The arc up here is around the mid 100s. Beyond that, it's going to be the 200s, and beyond it's going to be around the 400s. I think most likely it will hit some of the upper targets up here above sometime during the cycle. How high does it go? I do not know. Chainlink is hitting resistance here, where this GAN chart here has been showing some beautiful market symmetry. This arc here has been tested for a long time. Once we break through the arc above, we went berserk, right? This arc has been tested here for a long time. Maybe once we break through this arc up here, it will go berserk up here to the arc above, which is going to be around the mid to low 100s, right? I think that there's a good chance, based on beautiful market symmetry that's been showing, that it would break through this arc and get up to the next level, but it's still speculative. We'll see. Another chart that has showed great market symmetry is ADA Cardano. Cardano has been reclaiming this bottom part of the arc. It's been trying to push above the top part of the arc. It's been having a little bit of trouble doing so, but once it does, I think it's going to break the horizontal, and I think it's going to enter the arc up here above. It is also trying to challenge the 20-week moving average, and it is also finding support here on the Ichimoku cloud, which I think is going to help us build enough energy to push through to the next leg up, right? AMP is another one that I have. You can see that is trying to become more bullish again by trying to break above the Ichimoku cloud, but getting rejected here so far. But if I don't use any indicator at all, what is going on here is forming a rectangle in a range, right? Top of the range, bottom of the range. What is the primary trend? The primary trend is higher highs and higher lows ever since it bottomed over here, right? Primary trend is up, the rectangle is formed, and the next move from the rectangle typically is going to be a continuation of the primary trend. What is the primary trend? Is up. So I did buy a little bit of AMP down here near the bottom of the range. I still think that AMP is going to do quite well over time, but it needs to get over some of these resistance levels, such as the Ichimoku cloud and such as the 20-week moving average. That's exactly what it's doing. It is holding the Tenkan here and flipping some of these things down here at the bottom of the range as support. They're trying to push through and go up higher, but I think this wick down above is very similar to this wick over here, where you just don't have enough technical build-up for us to really get out of this funk and go higher. HBAR is a bullish chart. HBAR looks great. It's getting close to the Ichimoku. It is basically a little bit too far too fast, and it's cooling down to test this horizontal zone over here, and it's holding it as support. Is looking pretty decent. If you look at the Fibonacci levels, it is trying to reclaim the 0.618 after bounce out of 0.5. I think it will have enough energy to push through, because why? Bullish cross on the wave trend oscillator. Anyway, next up is XLM. XLM is in a very similar boat, except that it's holding the 0.618. Did I expect it to break this diagonal trend line the first time at the 0.886? No. It decided to come back down to the golden bucket, test the bottom of the range here at the 0.618. I think it's going to end up going back up. Why do I think that? Because I think there's enough energy here, because a bullish cross here on the wave trend oscillator. Solana, rejection at the 0.886. Do I think it's going to push through? Yes, I do. Why is that? Because of a bullish cross here on the wave trend oscillator. I think that these things are going to go higher once resistance is broken, but we are at resistance. So if you end up buying at resistance, you might have some short-term pain. I'm going to talk about a couple more, and I'm going to end the video here. Render. Render is reclaimed at 0.618. It's having a hard time breaking about the 0.886. If it breaks about this range though, I think more all-time high price action could come, but it needs to do that. Fetch AI, very similar story, but it did break about the horizontal and backtest the horizontal here. If it's able to hold, then the next up is going to be this arc here, where we got rejected twice already. After that horizontal line up here around $7, the arc can be anywhere from like $1.20 to $1 to like $2. Next up is the horizontal is $7. Next arc is in the teens, in the low teens, right? But one step at a time. I want to talk about two more before I go. This one is COTI. I did end up adding a little bit to this week because it bounced at the bottom over here at the arc here. I think it's going to gravitate back up to the arc up above. We got rejected up here twice already. I think the third time's the charm. We probably end up pushing through here and go higher. How much higher? It depends, one arc at a time. MATIC has been extremely devastated. It is a downtrend ever since January or December 2021, January 2022. What is it doing? It is hitting the 0.618 and it's finding support here. It is hitting the bottom, it's hitting the top of this arc over here and the horizontal gain line over here. A lot of confluence here. I think MATIC probably had bottomed. And I think MATIC probably would reverse and challenge the arc up here again. Right. I think that it's found a very, very decent support zone over here. And I'm not going to buy MATIC because I think this is going to be a laggard. I'm going to try to buy other charts that look better. And while I wait for MATIC to repair itself, to prove itself. And once it proves itself and become more bullish, I might get back to MATIC and see how far it goes. Finally, a couple other things here. If you look at the others chart, the others chart is the cryptocurrency total market cap excluding the top 10 coins. It's got back about the 0.618 here on the log fib. And it is trying to challenge the Ichimoku cloud here on the weekly. On the monthly, it's also trying to challenge Ichimoku cloud, trying to break above the Ichimoku cloud and go higher. But without using any indicators, this is a big giant cup with a very complex handle. And this thing looks like it wants to break higher after it's done consolidating over here for over a year. I just think that this looks a little bit more like an ascending triangle. It looks like it wants to go up higher. And it's also reclaiming 20-month moving average. And I also think that this chart looks very, very similar to one of my favorite charts and one of my biggest position, Coinbase. Coinbase is looking more and more bullish, so I think altcoins are probably going to do pretty well moving forward. Anyway, I'm going to keep this video less than 25 minutes. Guys, take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.